In this episode of ArcLighter, we're going to talk about something that is not often discussed in a typical architectural office that architecture school doesn't teach you. And it's important because it'll start to define how you act in an architectural office, how you feel in an architectural office, and they don't teach it in architecture school. 3, 2, 1, architecture school. All right, so in architecture school, a lot of people go to are all different types. There's conceptual schools, there's technical schools, sort of sometimes trade schools. Nowadays, sometimes people like to marry design with construction in the same program. So you'll get architects working side by side with contractors, which is an approach. And all those things are fine, but what they're trying to set you up to do is to work in an architectural office. And if you look at an architectural degree, specifically if you go through master's degree, you'll see things like professional practice, materials and methods, the technical aspect of architecture, the drawing aspect of architecture. But I'm going to submit to you today that there's things that are more important than the technical part, building standing up, wind loading, water, roofing, detailing, more important than contract language that they don't ever teach you. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is they don't teach you how to understand yourself. So architecture school doesn't teach you to learn about yourself. Sometimes it's a little too non-architecture when we're talking about great buildings, great architects, great venues, the World Showcase. But really we forget that architecture is an assemblage of people that are working together. And everybody has a different skill set. And so how do they weave into architecture school an understanding of the self? I will tell you, it's really important. I get asked, as probably a lot of professions and architects get asked, that so-and-so's nephew wants to be an architect or niece, and they might be 16 or 17 years old, and their family's trying to figure out if they should go to an architecture school somewhere in the country or so on. And I sometimes shudder at that question because I have very real answers to give them. The trick with architecture is that you need to be in a place that allows you to be yourself. To be yourself means you have to understand yourself. And I'll give you some examples. If you are a very introverted person, very quiet person, wouldn't work real well if you're asked to go to after hours events and marketing events. If you're a very left brain critical thinker or detail person, that's okay unless somebody's asking you to come up with big picture ideas and expand the right brain part of your project, part of the project. And so how do you get to know who you are? What is your true authentic self? What allows you to come into work every day and feel like it's something that excites you? It starts with understanding who you are. And so architecture school wants you to understand conceptually how to put together space. Some architecture schools want you to understand all sorts of software and understand. Some are a little bit more philosophical. I remember back in the day, we ended up reading a book and turning that into a construct, which was really cool. And it's at that point you can start to get a sense of, am I a very pragmatic person? Am I a very literal person? And it's very important to understand who you are. As you work through the various phases of your architectural career, those things will become more and more and more important. Architecture has a lot of tracks. Architecture has project management tracks and design tracks. It has operational tracks, different ways you can progress through the industry. And so asking you at 17 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that's going to set up the next part of your next 10 years of your life is pretty tough. So I would say that architecture school doesn't really prepare us too well to understand yourself. Again, architecture school doesn't have a personal profiling sort of class, at least not the ones that I'm aware of. Now, the good news is there are ways to concretely define kind of who you are as much as you can for personalities. And I say this because where do you start, right? Let's say you're in your 5th year of architecture, that you're somewhere in your master's, maybe it's a 5-year program, and you're trying to look for a firm to go to, and you look online and you look at their portfolio and you see commercial work or airport work, all sorts of stuff. But in fact, the questions you should be asking are, what size is your firm? How big is the office I'm going to be working in? What will I be doing as a new architect on the day-to-day? And if you get the standard answers, well, you'll be doing some elevations and picking up red lines. That's okay. But the fact is that doesn't really tell you how your personality type will kind of mesh in with the group. The fact is, architecture is an assemblage of people, and people are personalities, and it's the people and the personalities that make the projects. It's not somebody's ability to draw the best wall section and brick details and all that kind of stuff. Those are great. But what's going to keep you happy is understanding how your personality will fit in that realm. And so some of these tools are out there, and they literally require you to take tests, to take quizzes. And some people, when they take tests and quizzes, try to fool themselves. They try to game the system, and they sort of mark the answers down to the questions that they think that the test wants to hear that'll drive a particular answer. That's a pretty common thing. But many of these testing profile sort of setup actually will require you to hand the test to several people that are your peers, and they will ask them to fill out those tests. And then you'll get back, and the agglomeration of all those answers will say that you're really this type of person. And what it tells you is, do you work well under pressure? Do you work well with other types of personalities? Sometimes quiet people have a very difficult time working with boisterous people. Vice versa, if you're in a room full of quiet people and you're the loud one, maybe people get annoyed at you. The fact is personality types are really big. So there are ways in architecture to accommodate these things, but if you join the wrong firm, you end up being very unhappy. We rely on those phrases, well, it's not the right fit, it's not where I want to be. You are really not searching for a different architectural firm. You're searching for a different atmosphere, culture, and environment where your personality will fit in. But again, show me an architecture school in this country that talks about your personality. I don't think they exist. You may get some very candid information from professors. We've had staff at our office where they very much were told that maybe architecture wasn't for them, and then next thing you know, they've done great jobs. So just to revisit, architecture school has things, I think, that they don't exactly address very, very well, that if you're a young burgeoning architect in the state of Florida, they call them architectural associates once you have your degree, and you're trying to figure it out, because that's what we're all trying to do, is figure it out. I would just tell you that there are things that really aren't addressed that maybe you can get some help with from some of your friends or your family to kind of work through this thing we call life. If you appreciate this kind of content that talks about all aspects of architecture, not just the pretty pictures, but the daily grind, the process, working with consultants, the stories, the fun stuff, the not so fun stuff, that's what ArcLighter is about. And as we grow our base, we get more suggestions from the community. We want to put that online and talk to people, and we want to hear from you. So absolutely comment down below. So thank you, everybody, and I appreciate you tuning in. I will see you next time on the second thing. You know what? I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to tune in and find out. That's just the way I am. That's how I do it. So take it easy.